Hello, everybody. So, I'm bored, and I don't want to do my homework. So instead of doing my homework, I did something that looks like homework, but didn't feel like homework, so I enjoyed it. I'm going to be breaking down my list of the New York Rangers' top 13 prospects. I know. I'm super excited. I hope you guys are too. So, friendly reminder. I am not a scout. Okay? My opinion holds, aside from casual research, no merit. This is just me having fun, rating my top 13 Rangers prospects. Do not take any of this to heart. Don't be offended if I didn't include your favorite prospect. And if I didn't get the order right, well, just comment below with your opinion, what the order should be. This is all my opinion from the little bit of research I've done casually. So please, for the love of God, let's be simple about this. But let's all have fun. Let's see what we got. So, don't look. Present. Yay. My top 13 New York Rangers prospects, brought to you by Google Slides. Love it. Number 13, Will Cully. So, the breakdown is going to be this. On the bottom right, you have their statistics provided by Cap Friendly and Elite Prospects. A picture in the top right, and on the left, my opinions. So, for Will Cully, I think his ceiling is a middle six NHL winger. I was borderline putting him as a bottom six NHL winger, but you just never know. I definitely think he could slot somewhere in that second, third line role, depending on how he grows. Played 5 games with the Wolfpack. Had 5 points with the Wolfpack in 18 games last year, 35 PIMs. Definitely plays a tougher role. Do I think he's going to make the NHL? More than likely not. That's why I give him a 1 out of 10 chance of making the NHL out of 3. So about 30% odds of making the NHL. I just don't really see it. But if I do see it, I think it would be sooner rather than later. I think this is one of these guys where players that kind of play this style, I kind of feel like we know whether or not they're going to make the NHL by the time they're 2021. So we figure give him another 2 years. By the time he's 21 years old, if he's ready, he'll be in the NHL. If not, he'll kind of be teetering a line like Tim Gettinger has been for the past few years. You might see him every now and again until he eventually just fizzles off. Number 12, Dylan Garand. I have his ceiling at a starting NHL goalie and his floor as a fringe starting NHL goalie. So, Garand was a weird one because this is one of the guys I'm pretty damn sure of being an NHL goaltender one day. And I think he's going to do it pretty damn soon, too. I just don't know if it's going to be with the Rangers. If it is with the Rangers, he will be the backup to Igor Shesterkin. Garand was... he just kind of came out of nowhere and played better than I think most thought he would. A .921 save percentage in 2019-2020 with the Camp Blue Blazers. And then this year he comes back with another .921 save percentage and a .215 goals against. And he played 2 games with the Pack. Honestly, he didn't do great with the Wolfpack, but for 18, 19-year-old goaltender, what the hell else do you expect? Garand has impressed a lot of people. He ended up making Canada's U20 team. He only played 1 game, but no one really expected him to make that team, and he did. So we'll see what happens with Dylan Garand. I will follow him closely this year, follow him closely again next year. So this year, the 21-22 season, he'll be back in Camp Loops. Next year, he'll be with the Wolfpack. If he plays well enough, the year after that, we'll see him in the NHL. Again, so when I have NHL ETA, I want to clarify this too. This is not when I think they'll be in the NHL full-time necessarily. This is when I think we'll see them for the first time in the NHL. There are plenty of players in the Rangers' history that make their NHL debut, on and off, and then they become full-time players. So when I say his NHL ETA is 21 years old, I'm not necessarily saying this is when he's going to be a full-time NHLer. This is what I'm saying, well, we'll probably see him for the first time in the NHL. And the same goes for Will Cully. Number 11, Tarmo Reunanen. The only reason he's so low on this list at number 11 is not because I doubt him making the NHL, because I give him a 90% chance of making the NHL, is because his ceiling and floor are so tight together. I don't see Reunanen being better than a 4th, 5th NHL defenseman. I think 4th might even be pushing it. I think for the Rangers, it's more of like an Anton Strawman type, where he becomes better after he leaves the Rangers, but so long as he's here, he probably won't be more than a 4th, 5th guy. He's already 23 years old. I have his ETA at this year, and yes, I do think this is the year again where we see him kind of float between the NHL and the AHL and possibly gets moved in a deal. Sorry, I had class this morning. I'm very tired. I don't think Reunanen has a spot with the Rangers going forward unless he wants to be a career platoon defenseman. If he wants to be a full-time NHL defenseman, he will have to go elsewhere, and I don't think the Rangers are going to give up for nothing. I mean, why the hell would you? You got 2 or 3 more years of control on him. So Reunanen could be a guy you see the Rangers move for just in any deal for an upgrade at some position or something. I'm not sure. But I don't think the best of his NHL career is going to be with the New York Rangers. I do think he'll be a good NHL defenseman elsewhere. I don't think it will be with the Rangers. And it's unfortunate, but the Rangers' defensive prospect system and in the NHL too is so damn log jammed. I mean, right now, if you look at the left side, you have Lindgren, Miller, Nemeth, Jones, Tenorti, Reunanen, Robertson's right behind him coming up. So you kind of got 7 guys really fighting for one spot, which is occupied by Patrick Nemeth for the next year or two. So more than likely, you won't say Reunanen. Number 10, I got Carl Henriksen. Henriksen's a weird one, man. I gave him a 4 out of 10 for the possibility of making the NHL, but with his ceiling at a second-line center, it's a pretty interesting ceiling, right? That picture right there is him at the last time we saw a Traverse City Prospect Tournament. I believe that was the Capo Caco wraparound game. I think I'm totally wrong there. But either way, I have his NHL ETA set 2 years from now. He'll be 22 years old. I think that's reasonable. This year he'll be back in the SHL. I think it was Stepboy Steven. I'll tell you the tweet right now. He tweeted it earlier today. Let me pull up Steven. All right, so also if you're not following Stepboy Steven on Twitter, you're missing out. So let's see what he says. Hold on. Because it's gonna he said today what? Okay. So, Carl Henriksen is not AHL eligible until 2023. So 2023-2024 season because of his, or maybe when he says 2023 is after the 2022-2023 SHL season. So after that, I assume he'll go right to the AHL, and at some point in 2023-2024, after he has a handful of AHL games under his belt, we will see him in the NHL at some point. If not, it is fair to push back his ETA to 24-25 when he is 23 years old. Either way, I think Carl Henriksen is more of a project prospect. I mean, one of those, I just probably won't see him for a while, and when you do see him, who knows what to expect? Honestly, this guy is a center right now. Considering his size, might get moved to a wing. Could possibly see him as a bottom 6, middle 6 NHL winger. But for the time being, from the little bit we've seen of him and the slight success he's had at the start of the season in the SHL, I definitely still think second-line center is his ceiling. So we'll see what happens. Who knows? Brett Berard, number 9. I do have him ahead of Carl Henriksen. So Brett Berard, I think his ceiling is a top 6 NHL winger, and his floor is a top 6 AHL scorer. I think more than likely we'll find Brett Berard in a middle 6 scoring role. 10 points in 19 games at Providence College with the U20 Worlds. 5 points in 7 games. Went from being an extra forward to the top winger with on the first line with Trevor Zegras. I give him a 5 out of 10 for the possibility of making the NHL. I actually do believe in this kid a little bit more than I believed in Ty Ronning. And they're still kind of like the same size as each other. I just think Berard's a little bit smaller, and even though it's only a matter of a few years, I think the NHL is more adopting smaller players becoming more likely to play in the NHL versus Ty Ronning, who just before that timeline of the bias going away of small players being able to make the NHL and be effective. When we do see Brett Berard in the NHL, I think more than likely he fills out as that middle 6 winger, as I said, as a scoring, gritty Ryan Callahan type, even though he's slightly smaller than Ryan Callahan. I definitely can see him in that kind of role. And I definitely don't think we'll see him until 24-25, so that is 3 years from now. So it will be a while before we see him. He's got some growing to do. He's got his next 3 years at Providence College, and I think his last year in Providence College, I think he makes the jump over to the NHL after his senior year, year 4 ends, and you'll see him for a couple games before the season ends, more than likely. Moving on, number 8, Lauri Pajuniemi. I wanted to have this guy so much higher, but I'll just leave him here now because I think the 7 prospects ahead of him are slightly more deserving. I think what holds back Pajuniemi is his current age at 22 and the fact that he was a 6th-round pick. He's had a longer road. I gave him a 7 out of 10 for whether or not I think he's going to make the NHL. I'm pretty damn confident he's going to make the NHL. And if he does, I think his ceiling is a top 6 NHL winger in a scoring role, kind of like a Victor Arvidsson type. I think his floor is a bottom 6 NHL winger, and he could develop into a Jesper Fast type. Who knows? Basically, from his first year in the Liga, he had 7 points. This is 4 years ago. No, holy shit. 2017 was 4 years ago. Jesus. And then he had 13 points. Like, all right, it's just like, he's kind of making his way along. And then, what the fuck? 40 points, 26 goals in 49 games in this past year. 22 goals and 38 points in 48 games. And he'll be in the AHL this year, so we'll get to watch him a little bit closer. I mean, if he's ever in town playing against the Charlotte Checkers, you can bet your bottom dollar that me and my family will be at Hartford Wolfpack games trying to get a look at Pajuniemi up close. I think we'll see him next year, not this year in the NHL. And if we do see him next year, it'll probably be in like a bottom 6, 4th line role, kind of taking over what Jesper Fast was doing. Although I think Pajuniemi has a better offensive upside than Jesper Fast, but a lower defensive upside. But then again, I've been wrong before, and I hope I am wrong. I hope he's better than Fast at everything, and he becomes a top 6 NHL winger. That would be great. More than likely, Pajuniemi's ceiling or his what would be the right word for this? The best of Pajuniemi would not be seen on the New York Rangers unless drastic changes are made. I think the Rangers wingers are so crowded right now. I mean, you're not getting rid of Panarin, you're not getting rid of Lafreniere, you're not getting rid of Kakko. Unfortunately, you can't get rid of Kreider. You're not getting rid of Krabs unless it's a huge deal. And I think Ottman is just slightly ahead of Pajuniemi because Ottman was a first-round pick and Pajuniemi was not. And also, Ottman's in the new regime, Pajuniemi's in the old regime, so... Morgan Barron. I give him a 9 out of 10 on the NHL, whether or not I think he'll make the NHL, because, quite frankly, after what he showed last year, he should be in the NHL this year, and there's a chance we could see him in the NHL this year. I definitely think they'd rather be giving him top 6 minutes in the AHL to let him grow a little bit more, although I think he's kind of done what he could do in the AHL. Point per game in the AHL, point per game in NCAA, had a goal in 5 games with the Rangers in the NHL, and he didn't look out of place once. I think the Rangers roster is so damn crowded right now, I don't see Barron making the cut yet. With that being said, I do anticipate him getting games, and I think if Kevin Rooney gets hurt, that Morgan Barron's a first call to replace him as a 4th-line center. As much as Dryden Hunt could play center, I think they're more so saving him to kind of play the wing as the 13th forward, not center. And also, I'm not a fan of Kevin Rooney. I would rather see Morgan Barron than Kevin Rooney, and a couple other guys that were free agents that I think would have been better than Kevin Rooney. But then again, for some reason, they're loyal to the guy, and they're just going to let him play. I would have much preferred Derek Brassard or Morgan Barron, but, here we are. I definitely think his ceiling's a middle 6 winger. I think if Morgan Barron's your second-line center, you're a struggling team. I don't think he could be your second-line center on a winning team. Now, if he's your third-line center, that's pretty damn good. He can kind of fall into that realm of like a Nick Bjugstad, like Bjugstad was on the Florida Panthers when the Florida Panthers were doing pretty decent a few years ago, and Bjugstad was a third-line center that scored like 20-something goals. And I think if he doesn't hit that, he's still a solid 4th-line center at the bare minimum. Moving on from Barron, I have number 6. I got the WHL Central Division Defenseman of the Year, Matthew Robertson. I think Matthew Robertson's ceiling is a second-pairing shutdown NHL defenseman. When I'm saying second pairing, I'm saying he could be like the third guy. Like, not necessarily the 4th best defenseman, but like the 3rd best defenseman, kind of like a Matthias Ekholm type. Good shutdown guy, can move the puck, but doesn't really need to move the puck, but has moved the puck. That was a mouthful. If you look at his WHL numbers, 33 points, 47 points, 22 points. The guy can score. He can provide offense. I just don't think he will at the NHL level. I think at the NHL level, he'll develop more into a shutdown defenseman. I think his floor is a 3rd pairing NHL defenseman. I think the chance of him making the NHL 80%, 8 out of 10. The kid is anything but a surefire NHL defenseman at some point. It's just a matter of when. I don't think he'll ever be a top guy. I don't think he'll ever necessarily be a bottom guy. But, I'm not going to give him the same ceiling I'm not going to give him the same floor as a ceiling. Second pairing shutdown, I think, is right where he will sit. I think more likely than not. If anything, if he really fizzles out, 3rd pairing NHL defenseman, shutdown type guy. To compare him to Rangers of past, a 3rd pair shutdown guy, maybe like a Paul Mara type. I mean, he's definitely not a middle pairing. He's definitely not a top pairing, but kind of shuts it down on that 3rd pair. Who else kind of, like Kevin Klein. Kevin Klein right there. There's your perfect comparable. Could play on the 2nd pair, but this is what I'm saying is the floor for Matthew Robertson. I want to clarify that. As the floor for Matthew Robertson, a Kevin Klein type, where he could play on the middle pair, but should be a little bit better on that bottom pair, and can shut it down. What do I think Matthew Robertson will be? I think he'll be a middle pairing NHL defenseman. He will be shut down. He will be great. Now, I don't think his best years will be with the New York Rangers. I'm not even sure if he'll make his NHL debut with the New York Rangers. Like I said, the Rangers defensive core is so freaking log jammed right now. I mean, if Matthew Robertson breaks in the NHL, let's just pretend Namath does not exist. Okay, let's pretend Jones doesn't exist. If Matthew Robertson was going to be one of the Rangers' top 3 left-handed defensemen for the next 5 years, do you ever see him usurping Lindgren as Fox's partner or K'Andre Miller as anybody's partner? Because honestly, right now, in terms of left-handed defensemen, K'Andre Miller is the best left-handed defenseman on the Rangers, and Lindgren is not too far behind him. Lindgren's better defensively than Miller, but all-around player, I think Miller is better than Lindgren. Not by much, but slightly better. It's because of his skating. And I don't think Robertson usurps either one of them. And hold on. Yeah, he's a lefty. I thought I was going crazy for a second. Yeah. I don't see him ever jumping either one of them. So at the very least, the Rangers are going to get that third pairing NHL defenseman. But I think if Robertson was on any other team, he is that Matthias Ekholm type. Middle pairing defenseman shut down. You don't have to pay a ton of money to him. He could put up numbers, but he probably won't. Moving on. Brendan Ottman, I have him at number 5. You're going to probably enjoy the next 4 players out of him. But Ottman, I got a 6.5 chance of him making the NHL. I think more than likely you'll see him in the NHL. I just am a little bit wary because I know people have questioned his skating, his agility, and his consistency, which I'm not a fan of. I was a doubter of Ottman when we first picked him. I kind of got Hugh Jessman vibes where the Rangers forced themselves to pick a bruising winger, but the more I read about him, the more I see, the more confident I am in the pick. And hopefully the Rangers saw something that not many other people do. I think his ceiling is a top 6 winger, and I think the reason his ceiling is a top 6 winger is because he'll be a compliment to Lafreniere. Ottman will do all the digging in the corners, all the tough guy shit, while Lafreniere does the superstar stuff. I think his floor is a bottom 6 winger. At the very least, I think Ottman will be a modern-day 3rd or 4th line winger, bruising people, throwing hands, working down low, just kind of doing all those little things that you'll see out of a guy, maybe not exactly like Patrick Maroon, but similar to Patrick Maroon type production and service. And I think we won't see him for another 2 years, so the 2023-2024 season is a bit of an asterisk on there because you might not see him for even a year after that. But with the way the NHL's going, younger, you could see him sooner rather than later. Whether that's a good or a bad thing, I think it's more of a bad thing. And I think this could be a guy you need to let marinate a little bit longer. Take a look at the Detroit Red Wings. They always over-marinate their prospects, and it works out for them. So, honestly, it might be better to over-marinate him, but realistically, the way the Rangers are run and always have been run, we'll probably see him sooner rather than later. I think it'll be a mistake. I hope it won't be. Moving on to number 4, Zach Jones. And if Zach Jones is your 4th best prospect, you got a pretty damn good system. I think Zach Jones' ceiling is a second pairing defenseman, the number 3 guy. I think having Jones as becoming a number 1 pairing defenseman is unlikely. I know some people have said that being a possibility for Jones, but I think Zach Jones is good. To say that he'll be a top pairing NHL defenseman, I think that's a bit of a stretch. I think realistically he's a second pairing power play can also defend type defenseman. Comparables, he's a little bit smaller, maybe like a Jared Spurgeon type. The left-handed Jared Spurgeon can score, is good defending, great skater, but is incredibly undersized at 5'9". I think Jones is. I think Spurgeon's 5'9" too. I think his floor is a 4th or 5th defenseman. I definitely don't think any team that Jones is on, he'll ever be the worst defenseman or the bottom guy, the guy that kind of gets rubbed out, by the 7th guy to squeak it every now and again. I just think he's too good of a player for that to happen to him. That's more of like an Adam Clendenning type, and I think Jones is heads and tails above Adam Clendenning. I think his ETAs this year, I think had the Rangers not been so log-jammed on the left side on defense, he would be a top 4 defenseman. If K'Andre Miller and or Ryan Lindgren did not exist, Jones would be on the second pair for the Rangers this year, and there's not a doubt in my mind that would be the case. He showed it last year, 4 assists in 10 games. I don't think did him justice for how well he played. He defended well. He did pretty decent on the little bit of the power play that we saw him. And look at his NCAA scoring. I mean, unfreaking believable. And he played for USA at the World Championships and didn't do bad either. So, and 8 out of 10 for whether or not he makes the NHL. The only reason I have him as an 8 out of 10 is because if he sticks with the Rangers, they're so damn log jammed, they might make him a little bit expendable. I hope they don't, but you just never know. Number 3, Braden Schneider. So I don't have Braden Schneider as a top pairing ceiling, but I believe that Braden Schneider could end up becoming a player on a team that becomes that team's top shutdown defenseman. I think that will be the case for Schneider on the Rangers. Now, WHL Defenseman of the Year for Braden Schneider. This is the guy that I think a lot of people slept on. Said his skating wasn't there, his puck moving wasn't there, yada, yada, yada. Well, Schneider played at the World Championships as an 18-year-old. He had 27 points in 22 games, and this is after 42 and 60 the year before. And at U20, he had 3 points and a goal in 6 games. This is pretty damn decent for a kid that was thought to be 4 or 5 years out of making the NHL. I think his floor is the third pairing defenseman, Kevin Kline type. Braden Schneider is as tough as Kevin Kline, moves the puck as well, just well-rounded defender that can contribute offensively but chooses defense first. I think more than likely we'll see Schneider on the Rangers as that top. I don't know, man. It's so weird because of the position the Rangers are in and the roster we have around them. So Schneider will be competing with Trouba, Fox, and Lundqvist on that right-hand side next year, and the year after that. I don't know when we'll see Schneider, but I got a feeling when we do see him, we'll be very happy with the product that we get. Schneider is a leader, and he will be a leader on the Rangers for years to come. I hope the Rangers do not trade him, but if we do, I assume they'd be getting a pretty damn good player back because this is a player I think the Rangers want to build around. And the Rangers are pretty damn fortunate to have Schneider, Jones, and Lundqvist as our top 3 defensive prospects because I think on any other team in the NHL, if those are your top 3 defensive prospects, despite what you already have in the NHL, you're sitting pretty damn pretty. Pretty damn pretty. I like that. Moving on. Number 2, Vitaly Kravtsov. I definitely think he's still a prospect. He only has 20 games under his NHL belt. I think his ceiling is a top-line NHL winger. I think Vitaly Kravtsov gives off Mark Stone vibes, although not as good as Mark Stone. He won't be as good defensively as Mark Stone. He probably won't score as much as Mark Stone, but could be like a slightly poorer man's Mark Stone, if you kind of catch my drift. Kind of. Tell you what, Blake Wheeler, the wheel deal. More like Blake Wheeler than Mark Stone because I don't think Kravtsov is that good defensively, but I think he could be that good defensively. If you ever go through and watch Vitaly Kravtsov highlights provided by Satboy Steven or Alex Nunn on Twitter, they gave a pretty good amount of highlights with Vitaly Kravtsov coming all the way from the offensive zone back to the defensive zone and breaking up plays. The kid can fly. He's 6'4", 220 pounds. He has fucking crazy hands. He never loses puck battles in the corners. He could pass, he could shoot. He could literally do anything and everything. If Vitaly Kravtsov ever reaches his ceiling, which feels far away, but if he ever does reach that ceiling, which I don't think he will reach for another 5 or 6 years, by the way, because bigger players like this take a while to hit that peak. If he ever does, I think he's a top-line winger, and there's not a doubt in my mind. Now, his floor, I think, is a middle 6 winger, and that's probably more likely where we'll see him with the Rangers because of how crowded and skilled the Rangers are. But, I don't know. I really believe heavily in Vitaly Kravtsov, and I think he could seriously be a top-line NHL winger. Like a Corey Perry, Blake Wheeler type. I want to say Mark Stone, but I just don't think he's... It's hard to compare anybody to Mark Stone because Mark Stone can literally do everything, and he's a fucking Selke candidate. I don't think Kravtsov will ever be a Selke candidate. I think he'll always be a solid defensive winger, and I think he can be better defensively. I don't know, man. Because he's on NHL ice, smaller than... Oh, my God. Kravtsov's a weird one, man. This is a guy I had trouble placing and trouble thinking about what his future is going to be like because there are just so many different ways he could go. Forget what I was saying. He'll be in the NHL this year, and I think the possibility of him sticking around the NHL is 9 out of 10, 90%. Kravtsov's a weird one, guys. I don't know. What do you guys think about Vitaly Kravtsov? Because I seriously think he could be like a top-line NHL winger if he ever peaks. That's just my opinion. I don't know. I have strong beliefs in this kid. Number 1, this is the obvious one, Nils Lundqvist. Lundqvist, I have his ceiling as a top-pairing NHL defenseman, number 1 guy. I should have just put number 1 defenseman, and his floor as a second-pairing defenseman. This is not a guy you really see in your third pair. I think he's way too good for that. 9 out of 10, and his ETA will be this year. I mean, look at his growth, right? Year 1 in the SHL, 10 points. Year 2, 31 points. Year 3, 32. Pretty damn good. And look at his fucking goal scoring. 3 goals, 11 goals, 14 goals. The guy just scores, okay? World championships, okay? Not World Juniors, World championships against adults, against the best in the world. 5 assists in 3 games. You tell me, man. You sit there and you tell me what this kid's going to be, because I think this kid's going to be a stud. And I think this kid's going to give Jacob Trouba a run for his friggin' money. And if Trouba ain't careful, he's going to lose that second pairing, because I think Lundqvist is that good. I think in the 2023-2024 season, we're going to have Lindgren, Fox, Miller, Lundqvist, and your mother and your father, and we'd be fine. Like, the Rangers' defensive core is so stacked, it's honestly ridiculous. Okay? If we look at this, right, we're going to go to Cap Friendly. Because I love Cap Friendly. All right, check this out. Just bear with me here. Just look at the depth charts, all right? Just shut your mouth and look at the depth charts, all right? Trouba will still be under contract. Everyone will be under contract. So I'm just naming guys that'll be... You know what? Here we go. We're just fucking making an arm change. What are we doing? Boobies. Look at this. Just shut your damn mouth and look at this, okay? Yeah, take a hike. Boom, 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 boom. Get your arse up here. Get on up. Come on, get. Morning, get. Do that. Am I missing any buggy? Reserve list. Not for defensemen. Okay. So... these are your 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. At the minimum, 3 of these guys will not be a New York Ranger in the next 3 years. Minimum. It's a good problem to have, man. It's a really good problem to have. Friggin' exciting. What is Tenorti doing over here? Just go there. It's a pretty damn good problem to have. Would you look at that? Are you looking? Are you looking at that? What I think will happen will be something along the... Oh, wow, that really sucks. Oh, that really fucking sucks. I love Matthew Robertson, but I don't think he'll be a Ranger. Look at that. Just, come on. Come on. Just, would you look at that? Are you looking at that? Come on. That's pretty freaking sick, man. That's good. That's going to be your defense in 3 years from now? I'll take it. And what's the worst that happens? Oh, no. Matthew Robertson. He's fucking good, too. Like, this is like a pretty freaking awesome problem to have. This is a great problem to have. The Rangers have so many defensemen. They have a gluttony. They have an embarrassment of riches on defense. And what the hell's going to happen? What does it matter? Look at that. Look at that. Look at that. I should probably refresh that. How are we doing over here, by the way? How are we doing? How are we doing? Come on. Come on. Come on. Those quizzes videos are not doing well. Whatever. Anyways. Oh, school. Oops. My job. There we go. All right. I'm done. It's been... How long is this video going on? A half hour. You guys comment below your thoughts on the video. Just comment about freaking everything. Just comment. Comment. I want you guys to comment on everything I've said and done during this video. Just let's talk. I'm so bored. The NHL offseason has been so boring. Let's start some dialogue. What do you think of my list? What do you think of the Rangers' future on defense? What do you think of the Rangers' future on offense? What do you think of the Rangers' future in general? What do you think? I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.